Hi, Ashley.
Hello. How are you?
Hey, Ashley.
Great, nice background.
It's
Oh.
left over from another meeting, but I'll keep it up.
I like it.
Okay, you are live on YouTube, and I can share the meeting script if you need to.
I have it with me. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. This is the meeting of the Northborough Open Space Committee being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement for the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Northborough Open Space Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Open Space Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed at the town website, or just go into YouTube and enter Northborough Remote Meetings. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting can allow public comment if there's anyone to comment. Otherwise, we're good to go. So if I could get a roll call of Open Space Committee members that are here, just say aye when I call your name. Leslie?
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
And John, that's me, I am here. And Mia, our staff, is with us as well.
Aye.
Great, thanks all for coming. I don't suspect we'll have a very long meeting. Agenda lists the Whitney Street appraisals as the first discussion item, so we'll get right into it. I understand we have 2 quotations for the appraisals. What's our next step?
To review those appraisals and decide if you want to move forward. The first is from John Avery. I sent out just a recent plan from the files that we had an engineered plan from like 2013, and for a 24-acre parcel. It's also listed on the market, so I was able to refer to the market listing. And let me see. John Avery asks for $3,950 with delivery no later than 4 weeks from engagement. The other proposal we received was from G&M Evaluation, also known as Gail Mann. We've worked with her before. And she is offering it for $4,300 to be completed within 60 days of the appraiser's notice to proceed.
Is there any history of the appraisals, quality thereof, timeliness to give us any preference?
They're both very good.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Mia.
No, just what you were going to say.
Yeah,
Good
they're both very,
experiences.
they're both very good.
That being said, is there any reason why we wouldn't pick the least expensive? It's only a few
Least
$100.
expensive and least expensive and quicker turnaround.
Yeah.
Now we would
Yeah,
need
that
to
makes sense.
make a formal request to the Conservation Commission to approve using con funds. Is that true?
That's right. So I could either draft a letter or a memo from you, John, to the Conservation Commission requesting that the Conservation Commission vote to expend the money for the appraisal.
Okay. How do members feel? Not a lot of money. Should we proceed?
This is for 432, Whitney? Is that?
Yes.
Correct.
Have anybody engaged with Mr. Anza?
Yes, I got permission for us to do the appraisal on the property.
Okay, so
Written permission.
he's open to at least to talk to us.
Yeah, that's good news. We can't really do anything without an appraisal, right? We can't just throw numbers out there, Mia.
No, you can only pay the appraised value.
Mr. Anza open to appraising his other property, by the way.
I didn't discuss across the street, but I did hear from Kathy Jubert in the town administrator's office that we're not interested in that property because there's open litigation. And we did confirm with town council that it was okay to proceed on this property, and town council confirmed 432 Whitney Street has no open litigation, so it's okay to proceed, but 429 would be a whole different can of worms. And it really wasn't that we said we can't proceed, it was just saying that we aren't going that direction. We're just looking at 432.
Literally cans of worms.
Yeah, I mean, we might, it would be interesting. Has anybody been out on 432? Prior
I've been
to, you've been out, is there solid waste out there, or is it, I can't tell from the aerial footage, it looks like there might be, but it's not clear.
I walked it in 2018 with Greg, the
Okay.
chairman of the Conservation Commission, and it was just compost at that time.
Just compost, yeah, that makes sense. It looks
I
like
didn't
it could
observe
be
any
just-
solid waste.
Okay.
Well, so that's a great point. I mean, so we're not even certain if it's like viable in terms of it from an environmental perspective. Is that something we want to check first, or?
Of course, we'd have to do an evaluation. The appraisal is just a value.
Yeah,
And then before the town makes any purchase, we do a 21E evaluation.
okay.
And Anthony, were you suggesting we do that before the appraisal?
I don't know what's involved in that, and I don't know. I think Mia would know best in which order to do that.
I think the appraisal would be good. The 21E would be much more expensive. With this site, it might include more than an average 21E is just sort of a records dive by paralegal. But then with this site, we'd want to do some on-site exploration, test pits. That's what I recommend. We'd have to contact with town council and the town engineer and town planner, make a plan for that. But that's going to be much more expensive. And the appraisal, this $4,000 step, will give us a number which we can discuss with. I've been working with Mr. Anza's lawyer, and they can just tell us right from there, like, this is the number we're given. This is the only that would you ever entertain this offer?
I mean, just from my experience, the 21Es that we always did were, I mean, the phase one it's a records dive, but it's also done by a licensed site professional that went out to the site. They didn't do any test pits. Obviously, that's a lot more expensive, but there was always somebody out there doing a full walk of the property and noting any potential hazardous conditions. I feel like they were usually more expensive than the appraisal, but never more than like $5,000, but for a phase one. But I don't know if the town gets the same sort of pricing.
I don't know how much it would be.
That's just my experience. But we always did do them after, because the landowner would have to agree to a phase one, and if we uncovered anything here, he would be liable for it. So yeah, I mean, he might not want to allow a phase one before we've gotten a deal locked down. So might be worth just a walk out there quickly before the appraisal gets started or before we sign a contract, just to make sure he hasn't put anything there since 2018. I know the aerial footage is from 2019. And like I said, it doesn't look like more than compost, but there is some questionable stuff that I can't tell.
I check it once a month. There's been no activity since my site visit.
Okay.
The Conservation Commission just asked me to drive by in the right of way and look at it.
Okay. Got it. All right.
I have a couple discussion points. The appraisal's relatively inexpensive, so we know that's the first step. Let's say we get to that point. What's the value of this property in terms of criteria for CPA that we helped to craft? Where does it fit in among other parcels that we've pursued? Any opinions?
In terms of priority?
And benefit to the town?
It's hard to say because it is, I mean, there are a lot of water resources right along it. So it's probably not a place where people are going to go walking all that much, but
There's state-owned conservation land to the rear, so it does
Yeah.
meet that. It's not
Yeah.
abutted by residential. It has the aqueduct. It also lies along the aqueduct. It can be accessed that way, which is already, we have the 8M permit out there, which increases
Right.
its value.
Yeah.
We have received plans for development. That always increases the value to conservation when you have not approved plans, but we've received plans. And
What are those
most-
plans?
They're from 2013, is for a road and a house. There was what previous one for a house. And then the most recent was just a verbal request for me to meet an engineer on site to investigate warehouse space, which isn't allowed use out there.
It's zoned industrial, correct?
It is.
But the house wasn't a developer, it was Anza himself putting, that was when he was planning to put his own.
There was no house on
there.
the plans. There was just a road. The
Okay, all right.
proposal I saw was a road. And when I spoke with him, he verbally said that the road was going to lead to his house.
I mean, I would say if we have plans to put an aqueduct trail up there, then, and we have allowances to do that, then that would be pretty cool, because there could be potentially a loop. Is that right? Does the terrain allow for that? To come off the aqueduct and do a loop there? Cool.
That's how, like, if I see something suspicious from the right of way, I park and walk on the aqueduct and I view it from the
Okay.
aqueduct. So technically,
okay.
we're not supposed to tell people to walk across the train tracks. That's illegal.
Oh, right, because there's the train tracks in between the aqueduct and the property. Okay. Well, either way, I mean, you know, even if you come off on Whitney and you walk over, it would be. I mean, it's 24 acres. It's sizable for Northborough.
You go up the aqueduct north, you get up onto Whitney Street, and then there's a gate to go right in
Yeah. So
because the railroad goes under the, so there is access.
yeah.
There's a sidewalk right there.
What's the state-owned, you say state-owned land to the,
Do you want me to share the map?
Yeah,
Sure.
please, that would be great.
Yeah. There's DCR land and Barefoot Brook. And
Can you see the town GIS?
Mhm.
Yep.
So I believe this is the Barefoot Brook Flood Control Facility. And this is owned by the state. This one as well. That's DOT. These are DOT because they're along the highway. Oh, this is more flood control.
Do you folks see Mia pointing to things?
I don't, I just see it.
oh, not
Okay,
the
yeah.
cursor. No.
You don't see the
Yeah.
cursor?
But
So
all those
green,
pieces. Yeah.
yeah, green is 432 and blue and yellow are state-owned land.
No, for whatever reason, we don't see you clicking. We just see the green. But I mean, everything to the south of the property is conservation land, right?
State-owned by DCR.
State-owned. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, what's the body of water?
Barefoot Brook and the Barefoot Flood Control Facility. I mean, see Barefoot Brook.
Is it clear? Is it fairly cleared or is it wooded?
It's wooded.
Wooded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wooded and wet. So it probably wouldn't, I don't know. I wonder if it's walkable over there.
It's very
What's-
dense.
Yeah. Okay. It's a
Goes
pretty good
this one.
piece. What is it, like 25?
Twenty 23.77 acres, according to the map.
There's like 50 acres altogether because there's a bunch of different little parcels. 50, maybe 60. 60 acres total. With all the little DCR parcels put together along Barefoot Brook. So it's pretty good area.
Is there any recreation on the existing DCR property?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just watershed, and I don't think they do anything with it anymore. According to Dan, last time we talked, he didn't think that they were doing anything there.
There's a dam here in is this, I thought it was Berlin, but that's not Berlin. Marlboro, There's
Oh,
a-
interesting.
the Barefoot Brook Dam. It's similar to our Cold Harbor Dam and our Hut Brook Dam, like an earthen dam.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
I
this
see
is a
it.
flood control facility.
Hmm.
We have 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps going.
And our other 3 flood control facilities are all used for recreational uses. So it's possible they'd be open to us developing trails back here.
I mean, the other reason too is like this abuts the Barefoot Brook, which very quickly goes into Northbrook and into the Assabet, not too far northeast of this, just over the line in Berlin and Marlboro. So, I mean, anything we can do to provide a buffer there, I think is a good purchase, in my opinion.
So based on your overview of its potential uses, granted, none of it being formal, but if it doesn't look like it has a tremendous residential potential, but as an industrial zone, given all the other warehousing right next to it, is it a fair statement that maybe that becomes one of its highest best uses? And
Industrial.
I
mean, I would say
any
like,
napkin sketch value of what this thing might be worth?
what does he have the one across the street on the market for? Or he has this one on the market, right?
This one, yeah, 1.7 million.
1.7. I mean, it might be an accurate value. I don't know. I would say though, like any more pressure on the water resources over here, and we might have flooding issues.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, how
contamination.
buildable is that lot, considering,
It's very close to.
I think it's very buildable.
is it?
The NOI, the Notice of Intent application, the Permit Application Conservation Commission, it was a buffer zone only permit application. They weren't even proposing to alter any wetland resource areas.
Okay.
So it is possible to get a road in there.
Yeah, even though it's possible and it's not against any wetlands regs, though, it still puts pressure on the water table here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd take a lot of engineering.
It's hilly too, as I recall, right? There's a,
Mhm. Goes down, then up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move to approve moving forward with John Avery's proposal for an appraisal.
second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. The other point, though, talking point I just wanted to bring out, I mean, we're just at the stage of figuring out what it would take, but while it seems to have potential open space opportunity and value, and not to mention if it were to be the reason for preventing more growth of warehouse space, that's a hot point right now. But the hotter point for the residents in that region has been the way Anza operates the other land. And I don't know what the outcome from that is really going to be, other than some mitigation of the things that he does that are in violation. But so I worry about the public response. We're not going to, I mean, we'd have to bring this, if this is $1 million property, we need more resources. We'd have to bring it maybe to town meeting for CPA.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people who are going to be saying that we're addressing the wrong side of the street. Not that the other side is for sale. In a perfect world, it'd be great to move out that owner to either conserve it or have it occupied by someone more hospitable to the community. But that's it's just something to keep in mind. I think it's potentially sensitive.
Yeah, but I think, the two things to say in response, which are very valid, are purchasing this piece prevents it from happening on both locations. And then
True.
the town expenses and forgetting the word right now, liability for purchasing the other side of the street would be immense. And, we'd be draining tax dollars to clean up his mess if we took on that. Or hopefully somebody else will come in and do it, or he will do it. So there's good reason.
Then there's just another backlash I just thought of, if we're playing devil's advocates here. We spend significant town money essentially to put cash in his pocket for the value of this land. Are we just making it easier for him to grow and stay in business?
Yeah.
That's where
he's been a town irritant, if that's a reasonable description of him, and that's all. So it's
I struggle with that a lot. Try to look at the objectively, it's amazing. It looks like it'd be a great parcel, but that is a sticking point for me. And I don't know if that's rational or
I know.
valid enough to outweigh the benefits, but it's definitely a consideration.
I also think that, depending on what the appraisal comes back at, it's still going to be fairly expensive. And let's just say it's $1 million. It's going to take a year away from purchasing anything else that might be better suited. That's, adjoining properties that we already have in more central parts of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Valid. Well, if we agree, as we did earlier, that the expense is relatively low, then having the information gives us ammunition, whether we move forward right away or not. And so we know what the number is and can evaluate its priority, right?
Yeah. And I know it's our practice to pay appraised value, and we can't pay more than, but there's nothing to say we can't pay less than if he were willing to accept a lower offer. But no, anyway.
Good point. It's hard to know how buildable it is, how valuable it is industrial, and how valuable it is residential. It's on the surface, it's not the greatest approach off of that street in that area per se, but not saying it couldn't happen.
Right.
Very good. That's all I had as far as discussion before taking a vote. Any other comment? We'll do a roll call vote. What we're voting for is whether to move forward with asking Conservation Commission for the funds to grant the appraisal. I'll need a roll call vote when I call your name. Leslie?
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
And aye for me too. So we have 5-0 vote.
Would you like a
On that.
letter or a memo to the Conservation Commission?
What's the difference?
Memo, you don't sign. I just write it. And their meeting is May 10th. I did put it on the draft agenda, so we can move pretty quickly, or we can wait till the April meeting if you want to take some time to draft a lengthier letter. I mean, they know the history of the site as much as you do.
No, a memo is fine, and keeping it on their agenda would be good. Then we know what we're doing. And so if they approve the use of funds, Open Space Committee does not need to vote again to grant the appraisal to Avery, right?
No, you already made the motion for Avery. So if they vote to spend the money, we can just ask Avery to start and spend the money.
Very good.
Right. Did anyone want to attend the May 10th meeting because I can try to express, that you are aware, and this isn't, you're not all like, slam dunk, we want this property, do it. We're apprehensive. This is just to get more. What I'm hearing is that it's to get more information, that it's not that you're planning on moving forward. It's just that you're planning on the purchase. You still have a lot more considerations to make. And this is the first step in just getting more information towards that, making that decision. Is that accurate?
Sounds right to me.
And I can
Yeah.
convey that, or one of you can attend and explain it. It's up to you.
Whatever you'd prefer, Mia. I mean, if you'd like one of us to attend, I mean, I can do that. Or
Be available, Ashley?
yeah,
Okay,
Okay, yeah, great. If you
thank you.
Yeah,
don't
thank
mind
you. Anthony.
volunteering, I'm not sure I'm
Thanks.
gonna be local that day.
yeah, I'll do that. Is that 7, Mia?
It starts at 6, but it'll be towards the end of the meeting.
Okay.
And if there's any conflict, just shout out and we'll, one of us will fill in for you.
Sounds good.
Okay, that's cool. So the next item on our agenda was the landowner outreach. We made pretty good progress at the last meeting as far as editing letters and where to go, and I thought that was really good effort. So Mia, can you update what's been mailed?
Sure, all the letters went out. Everybody got a generic letter except for DeFutis got a specific letter. There's one other.
I think the Gillerans too.
The Gillerans, yes. And everybody got one of these. I contacted the, who was it?
Mass Woods or no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mass Woods.
Yeah.
The contact for Mass Woods was a Professor Paul Cataranzo at UMass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
so I
so good.
asked him if we could either, if we could have permission to print these, and he replied, 40 are coming in a box.
It's awesome.
So I got them, and then we just sent them right out.
Great. Yeah, he's fabulous. He's just amazing.
Those
That's
went out
nice.
last
So you
week.
got- So a nice large envelope package arrives.
Mhm.
Nice.
Hard to ignore that.
And it's
Yeah.
a nice, big, colorful book that
Yeah.
they can look
Yeah,
through.
Really well done. It's awesome. Great.
So me, if you don't mind, I just wanted to expand again a little bit about my email to you independently asking to bring some discussion points for the 0 Bartlett Street area, which obviously is still popular. It was very popular at town meeting. You know, we know the history and the local residents in particular that are opposed to any more industrial buildings there. I do recognize and remember that there were certain conservation parcels agreed kind of in the back of the property away from the street, but I'm just throwing out, you know, the what if. It sort of speaks to Anthony's point a minute ago. Like if you had $1 million to spend and you could spend it to prevent another warehouse development on Bartlett, which, you know, regardless of your viewpoint on the whole matter, if you know, there's certainly a significant group of citizens in town that are opposed to it and feel like there's a lot of danger and hazards associated with it. So, you know, it's too early in the process of what's going on in the background of that to push it, but kind of a what if there was a sufficient proposal? What if it could be, if they could be bought out, so to speak, to preserve that land rather than another building going up? Could be a big long shot, but
Mia did reach out, right, Mia? And they said they're not interested at this time. But
It was a few months ago, when the conservation permit process was ongoing. They had called it, I think they were working with, they called Israel Lopez. They called and asked, he's a project manager, he's working on it for Gutierrez Company. And he had asked for Fred, and I said, can I have a minute of your time? The Open Space Committee met, it was the next day, so the Open Space Committee met last night. And, you know, we'd like to let you know that we're interested. If you ever would like to sell, the town would be very interested in purchasing the property. And he said, thank you for letting me know. You know.
yeah,
And
okay.
it is listed, the larger parcel is 59 acres, and it's listed as $2.1 million. And the larger parcel in the front, or the smaller parcel in the front, is $600,000. And that
it's
one is
assessed.
7 acres.
Okay. That's the assessment.
Yeah.
I think I looked back and they purchased it for like 2 million or something. Maybe it was, I can't remember.
It's 14 million, but I think it
14
includes
million.
more parcels. There's
It
a whole
included
bunch of
all,
parcels.
yeah,
It was-
all of those parcels, right?
At the time, it was like 500 acres. when they
Yeah,
were down
that's
to
right.
Westboro.
Most of which they've developed at this point,
Mhm.
I think. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's quite a bit of community resistance. It remains to be seen what legal avenue they'll pursue. But it certainly has happened when the developer feels like this is just too much trouble. Obviously, that's what the citizens offering resistance want to have happen, that they give up, so to speak, quote unquote. But I just think it, one could make an argument that it should there be any window that it would have a higher priority among other things that we do. We preserve a lot of open space, and it creates more trails and recreation, and the majority of Northborough is always in favor of that. But there are those that sometimes can come down and say, we're always just creating more trails. Where can CPA do any more for the community? And it's a fair point. So I just
yeah. I mean,
felt
we
like
can kind of
we should keep it up there.
make a judgment call when we see the appraisal for. I mean, we should make a judgment call without the appraisal, without the appraisal about the SA Farms piece. How likely is that to get developed, and do we need to really worry about it now, or do we kind of sit tight and see what happens with Bartlett? And I mean, they both have pretty high importance in terms of water resources and habitat value. I feel like there's more connections with the Bartlett Street area, and it also provides a buffer for the high school. But there are definitely some significant parallels. But like you said, the community might be happier about the Bartlett Street piece, even though if another warehouse went in on the SA Farms piece, I think people would be just as upset there. But
True enough.
yeah.
Well, I just wanted to keep it on the radar. I feel like it could be a
Mhm.
potential flashpoint, to keep it in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, makes sense.
I did get an outreach letter
And a booklet?
and a booklet.
Doesn't hurt. That's great. Who did it go to in that case?
Oh, just Gutierrez Company.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I
It's
just
sitting in a
want
mail pile somewhere.
I just want a quick refresher. I know that development was denied for environmental reasons, like denied by the planning board or zoning board, and then they appealed. I don't remember where it left off. I was just curious for clarity.
Not an appeal yet, but the planning board denied the permit. But they're challenging that they had the grounds to do so. So I think that's a short summary of where it is in the
Well, and they've
appeal
opened up
process.
another application just to build a subdivision with no buildings at this point.
Industrial subdivision, or
Yes, just all they're calling it is a road, a subdivision road, and they're breaking up. I believe it's 4 parcels off of that road. So
It's a few which are non-conforming, or
yes,
what do you think that strategy is, Anthony?
I'd hate to speculate because we're still in front of us.
Is it being proposed as less invasive in some way?
it's more like baby steps, like
Yeah.
bite off chunks.
Yeah.
Prove these non-conforming lots, say they're non-conforming, and then later we'll make them conforming, or we'll get somebody to say they are, and then we'll build them.
Are they non-conforming lots? I'm not sure.
There are a few that are. From the last plan I saw, there were. And they said, I think the attorney for Gutierrez said they were non-conforming lots in the meeting, but
Well, it's an interesting one to follow.
I'd like to caution,
Yeah.
just a word of caution, 429 Whitney Street saw multiple proposals for development. And then eventually the owner gave up, realized they couldn't get anything in there. And that's how we ended up with what we have there. I would hate, I mean, that is a beautiful property with priority and estimated habitat, the aqueduct trail. I'd hate to see something similar happen over there.
No one's disagreeing. This could be an expensive proposition. Let's find out.
Yep.
Any other outreach parcels that have any new percolation?
I haven't seen anything. No one's, I mean, Town Hall's closed. We used to get people who walked in a lot. That's how we got 615 Howard Street. You know, the Bennetts came in and just wanted to talk, you know. So hopefully when we open up again, and land outreach letters went to, you know, there's like 4 parcels there along that side, similar to 615 Howard, went to all of them as well, all the siblings.
Good. Does anybody happen to mention to Todd Helwig that we, you know, that DeFutis got his own new inquiry?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't reach out to him either. I just wondered if it would come up in anybody's conversation. I'll let him know.
Mm.
I wanted to get a refresher on where he left off with him.
Right.
There might be some change or softening. I'm just not sure.
I will tell.
Very good. If nothing else on that topic, the next thing is the Howard Street conservation restriction, specifically the regard of electric bike allowance. Interesting point.
Where is that?
2B10.
You actually have to call that out separate from a motorcycle.
So 2B.
So, yes.
Go ahead. Brian, were you going to say something?
Yeah, well, just generally speaking, there's a huge push by e-bike users to, I guess, both reclassify or classify them differently than motorcycles, so that therefore they'd be allowed on land that would otherwise be posted as non-motorized vehicles only. And e-bike usage is a upcoming and current topic that I figured we would be seeing pretty soon.
So, Brian, are you saying that this is a use we should allow because it goes along with dirt mountain biking, or?
It is tough for me to say. It's a hugely debated topic right now in the cycling world, because, for a little backstory, if you have a moment, there's a great number of riders who think that e-bikes are going to destroy the trails. Then there's a bunch of people who don't think that the e-bikes themselves are necessarily more damaging, but that it's likely that if the actual landowners, you know, see damage and it's from e-bikes that have been classified as mountain bikes, then they'll just shut down everything to all forms of biking. And then there's the side where there's a lot of people who are proponents of e-biking because it allows less than fully abled people to get out there and enjoy the trails on their bikes. So I can't offer like a straight up, you know, what I think. I could just say that there's huge debate going on, and what the consequences are if you do open up things to e-bikes, and what the consequences are if you choose not to. There's a rising swell basically because the usage is just skyrocketing.
And basically, it's just allowing you to not have to pedal. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're mostly pedal assist. So as you're
Pedal
pedaling,
assist, okay.
you get electric motor assist.
Do these, like, how fast do these things get going? I mean, is it faster than somebody just pedaling on their own?
It can be, yeah. They actually have different tiers and different classifications. I think that, you know, on flat land, I think you can get up to like 25 miles an hour on pedal assist.
My
I mean-
my only thought is
Sorry.
that it's more of a safety concern, if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
And I mean, this language already allows for, you know, individuals that have physical limitations to be able to use transportation vehicles. And if I would think that those would be included in that, if it was used by somebody with impairment.
I'm not sure if they are classified that way.
Yeah,
Reasonably necessary or customary. But if they become customary, I guess, or somebody can say.
you used the word consequence before, Brian. For this parcel, for our purpose, is there really a consequence to denying access of this kind of bike?
No, there's not on this parcel. I just think that the issue, it's more that this issue is starting up in many places, and it won't really be the first time we hear about it. And at some point, I would imagine the overall tide might turn towards folks who want an e-bike, you know, being stronger proponents than they are already. So no, I don't see any reason to allow it on this parcel. It's just kind of it's just interesting seeing it come up legitimately for the first time, really.
I would a reminder too that this is just one small piece of Mount Pisgah, and the idea was to keep the restriction here consistent with the rest of Mount Pisgah. So I mean, if they're not allowed on the main area, nobody's going to be riding them on this piece. I mean, so it probably makes sense just keep it consistent, and if there's another opportunity in the future to explore that use, maybe it would make sense somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. I've never even heard of it. Never even heard of these bikes.
Well, they've probably gone past you on a trail and you didn't even know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, then they'd
Certainly
be
on the road. I see a lot more people riding them.
it'd definitely be an
people-
enforcement nightmare probably if you can't really
It seemed like cheating to me, don't you think, Brian?
Yeah.
Yes, and it seems that way to a lot of people, you know, until you listen to an interview with a pro athlete who's been, sidelined for some reason, and they're using it as a recovery tool or something like that, or someone with a heart problem who really wants to
Oh,
get
sure,
out, and this is the best method. So
I know people
Right,
have used it
but
to
that-
commute where they don't want to be totally sweaty when they,
Well,
they
yeah,
can't shower when they
absolutely.
get to work,
Yeah,
so they use it to commute. So it's kind of a compromise between getting exercise without it being too strenuous. So
genius.
sorry.
yeah. Oh, as a
But no
commuter
one's-
thing, they're fantastic. They
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
their merits as a mountain bike thing is it's debatable.
Mhm, mhm.
I can hear the debate. So,
I mean, I think to Ashley's point about things being consistent, that let's keep it consistent with the abutting property. And then if we
Sure.
decide to revisit at some point, we can revisit across the board.
Right.
is this something we just need to have a consensus on then, that we do not allow it?
Well, so there's three options. There's allowing it, there's not allowing it, and there's staying silent on it. And technically, the other CRs are silent on it. It's really whether the enforcement, the land manager, considers it a motorized bike or not. So currently, the other CRs do not allow motorized vehicles unless it's for enforcement or getting inspection, getting someone off in an emergency, or we do have this, hold on, Paul is here. I'm going to admit him to the room. Or in this one case where individual transportation vehicle is reasonably necessary or customary for the mobility of persons with physical limitations or disabilities. So this is similar to the other CRs on Pisgah, but nothing, technically they're silent on e-bikes. It's whether or not the land managers consider e-bikes motorized or not. And so there's the three choices. Definitely allow e-bikes, definitely not allow them, or stay silent on them. So I just need a consensus of what you'd like to recommend.
I would probably opt for staying silent. I couldn't stay silent and say that, so.
And
Yeah,
there
I
are,
agree with Leslie because just for consistency and who knows what's going to happen in the future, like Brian said.
there's no industry consensus right now. The National Parks and Forest Service have deemed them motorized and they're not allowed to be used on their trails, but then it's left up to individual landowners, and it varies state by state and town by town. And as
Paul,
far
are
as
you with
enforcement
us?
goes, I don't think I could enforce. I don't think I can tell the tracks different. You know, if it was very loud, maybe, but I don't think they are loud. I think they're quiet.
Hey, John.
Hi. Welcome. How'd the game go?
It was a close one. We, I think it's just 6-6U, so
Hey,
everyone gets
coach.
the bat. Yeah, still got my Seahawks softball shirt on, so hopefully there's
I
no
was,
dress code for this meeting.
Well, I was thinking fondly of it, though. I coached baseball and softball for about 10 years and was part of the guys that kind of rejuvenated youth softball in Northborough, and it's been great to see it grow.
Yeah, well, I guess you'll be happy to know that I think this year there's been more girls playing softball than in the last like 4 or 5 years. Probably just due to getting out of the pandemic, I would imagine. But it was, there's I think 5-6 U teams and a bunch of other teams and other age groups.
Great.
It's great to see that.
Yeah, it sure is. Super. So we were just talking about, sorry to digress, we were talking about this allowing e-bike in the CR or staying silent. And staying silent, you say, is consistent with previous CRs, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody good with that then?
Mia said that, but yes.
Yep.
I just want to check. I don't know if you can hear me. You can. I'm not muted. There was an email from Land Protection Specialist at SVT. She said if the town would like to allow e-bikes, wherever mountain bikes, we're thinking of making some slight language changes to the language for reserved rights. And the use of dirt bikes and ATVs remain prohibited. And so we're not recommending that they allow e-bikes. We're going to stay silent like the other CRs. And then the state is saying, the council for the state is asking whether we should clarify whether e-bikes would be allowed. So I suppose if it does get to that point where the state's council says, no, you do have to clarify whether you allow e-bikes or not. So right now I hear that your preference is you would like to stay silent, but if the state requires you to make a determination, what would it be? Or do you want to just come back next month, find out if their council requires it?
That sounds fine.
Okay.
Does that hold it up unnecessarily or?
He says, I'm working through this review with EEA Council, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental. One question has arisen is whether paragraph 2B10 should clarify whether e-bikes would be allowed since non-motorized bicycling is mentioned. So let me look back at 2B10. 2B10 reads, motorized vehicles, the limited use of motorized vehicles on wood roads and trails to the extent practicable for the following reasons. And we talked about that. Property maintenance, fire, police, and people with physical limitations or disabilities. So under that, person with physical limitations or disabilities could use an e-bike to access the trails. Would you say that was correct?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. And John wasn't so sure if that would be the right interpretation, but I think it could be an interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Mhm. I would I would defer. Defer on that point. If they're like, you need to clarify, I would, like you said, there's no standard practice, but I would defer to partners on it, but it's me.
I
They're
think stay
doing
silent
it.
on the other CRs.
If we have to make a choice one way or the other, I'm just inclined to not allow it. I can't see a strong case for why it has any purpose in this particular CR. I think it's okay for us to sort of limit the expansion of what could go on potential trails. Haven't we had enough occurrence of issue with trail bikers as it is? And nothing against trail bikers, but it would be tougher to manage if there's a trend or an explosion of e-bikes, as Ryan indicates is possible.
Yeah, and if SVT's the enforcing party, I would be interested to hear what they have to say. Although you said they came up with language if we were requiring the allowance of e-bikes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they make some slight changes to the language. And if the town would like to allow e-bikes wherever mountain bikes are permitted, we are thinking to make some slight changes to the language in the reserve rights section to clarify that intent. The use of dirt bikes and ATVs would remain prohibited. They also asked if they want to confirm whether or not overnight camping is permitted at Mount Pisgah. And the other CRs, I didn't know this. I had to go look. I did find at least one where it says the same thing, that like overnight camping is allowed with written permission, but all trail areas are closed from dusk to dawn. So it would really have to be like an organized group requesting permission. And so.
Are
how do
they
we-
closed?
Yes,
Yeah,
They're
at
closed
Pisgah
dusk
or
to
just
dawn.
universally?
All the conservation land is closed dusk to dawn. The trail camera says
interesting.
people are there. So
I mean, we did a
not gonna
trails
enforce it.
nighttime walk once.
yeah, but that's where the
I don't think
land
I-
managers. We can use it. I'm trying to plan. I was trying to plan another one a couple months ago. I would just let the police know, like, hey, we're going to be on there. We can do whatever we want. It's our land. Just kidding.
So where do we leave this? Do we need to give them two messages or just stick with the?
No, I'll just say we want to stay silent on the use of e-bikes, as with the other CRs, because there doesn't seem to be any industry data on it.
Okay. Basically, we're not adding words then, not calling it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fair enough. Any more discussion on this?
So is that the consensus of the board? You don't have to take a vote. I just want to make sure if there's any dissenting voices that I recognize them.
Everyone cool with that response?
Yes.
Okay.
Paul, for your benefit, a brief summary of what we did earlier. We discussed getting the appraisal for the 432 Whitney Street. We voted unanimously to proceed and ask the Concom for the funds. So then we get the appraisal and at least we know what we're dealing with. We discussed the value of conserving that parcel, where it might stand in priority, and had some back and forth on that. But until we know what it costs, we agreed it's good to proceed.
Okay, that's good. Great news.
And that's pretty much it. We had a little bit of discussion about other land outreach letters that went out. We talked about whether one of those was to the Zero Bartlett owners, the Gutierrez company, and it was. And I was bringing up that certainly wanted to keep that on the radar. Should there be any possibility that they would not develop those parcels that have been controversial and instead would consider the town buying it, and in which case we probably need to be involved in that too. So that was that. Do we have February minutes, it says here?
We don't. Our board secretary doesn't have them prepared yet.
Okay,
She
so
said she'll
we
get
already
them to
approved,
us.
we previously approved March minutes, right?
I think.
I think that was last meeting, so this is just an
Let me
outlier.
Your last meeting was March, so that should say March meeting minutes. You previously approved February minutes, and the March minutes are not ready.
I thought we had them at the last meeting.
No, I
Understood.
mean the minutes for your last meeting. When you met in March, we had February minutes and you approved them. But now your previous meeting was March, so we don't have the March minutes ready from the previous meeting.
10-4.
Okay.
I got my dates mixed up. Our last meeting, in other words.
That's right.
Got it. Okay. Very good.
Oh, we're losing you, John. You're frozen. Let's give him a minute.
Two Johns.
Can you see me flashing on the other screen?
Yeah.
Lots of
I'm
horizontal
unmuted there.
bars.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, your audio is good.
I can't hear any of you. All right, that's good.
Can you hear us, John?
Am I
Am I
back?
back?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Can't explain it.
Got a good echo now.
Yeah, I hear it too. Any motion to adjourn then? Because I think we're pretty done.
Prior to that, do you mind if we discuss the next meeting? Do you want to wait until we get the appraisal back?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I started to do that. Might be a good idea, although do you expect it in? You think you'll really come through in less than 4 weeks?
I hope so. I don't think we should plan a meeting for a month from now because we have to contract him. And he may give us a different start date. He might say, I'm not be able to start for 3 weeks.
I understand. Well, we were meeting the end of the month, right? And this one just happened to slip over because April was full.
Yes.
What is the last Monday in June then?
Wait, June or May?
Well, we definitely wouldn't have the appraisal in, I guess.
Oh, I thought
last
you were
Monday.
suggesting meetings earlier rather than later.
No, I was thinking after the appraisal.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We'd get the
Misunderstood.
appraisal and then schedule a meeting.
Okay, misunderstood. Great.
Unless you
4
want
weeks
to
is gonna
schedule
be-
something beforehand.
4 weeks is Memorial Day, so, right? That wouldn't
Yes.
work.
Right.
I think that's the 31st. So what is it? June 7th is a Monday, 14, 21, 28. So does the fourth Monday in June work? Any issues, conflicts there? It's not the holiday week, right? No,
I'm away that day,
You're away that day.
June 20th.
June 28th, did you say?
Yes, the last Monday in June, I'm away.
What does the previous Monday look like?
I'm
June
away.
21st. I think Trails Committee, everybody's getting back to their normal Second Monday will be conservation, third Monday will be trails.
Gotcha. Okay.
Normally you could, like Trails has met, well, no, Brian's on Trails, he's on both. Wouldn't
Okay.
want to lose him.
Could we do June 14th? Is there any reason why we couldn't do that?
Conservation Commission is meeting that night.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. We could do a different night of the week. We could do Tuesday, June 29th, Tuesday, June 22nd, or Wednesday of those weeks. We'd have to look at, we've got planning board members, zoning board members, we'd have to look at other board and community meetings.
I'm no longer on the ZBA. So no conflicts
Great.
there.
Let's see.
We could meet in 4 weeks, and I mean 5 weeks, June 7th, and
That's a good idea.
if the appraisal came back, we could discuss it, or if it didn't, we could postpone the meeting. What would you think about that?
I think that makes sense.
Put a little heat too. We'll say, hey, we're meeting June 7th. Could you get it to us by then? At least
So
a
be it.
draft.
And that's the first Monday. We stopped doing first Monday because of Dan's schedule. I don't know if that's still a conflict for him. And he's not
No.
here to defend himself, but I think that was originally our,
Okay. Well, let's put it down anyway. And I don't know what notice you can give to the appraiser, Mia, to say it appears to be going forward. If he has to wait for the Concom vote, then he wouldn't get authorization until at least next week anyway. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, fair enough. Let's put a tentative meeting tickle down for June 7, prior to Memorial Day, that previous week. Let's see where we stand. And if nothing's percolating, we'll take the month off and meet in July.
Okay.
How's that?
Sounds good.
Good enough.
Great.
So June 7, 7 p.m. unless no appraisal, we'll wait till the following month, and would probably have to be the week after 4th of July week.
we lost you again, John?
Bring it back? No,
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know what's happening.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
With an echo?
Do we just need 5 votes?
We don't even we need just a majority, right?
Okay, I'm going to give a roll call for the vote to adjourn. Echo and all. Leslie,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Brian,
Hi.
Ashley,
aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and both of me. We're out.
Hey, John, I missed it, but I just wanted to compliment you on your presentations at town meeting. Those were very well crafted and well done.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I had fun
thanks,
with
John.
Yeah, the visual aids were nice, the props.
it.
We're bringing pickleball to Northborough,
It's going to be a hit.
literally.
It might be one of the biggest conversations we've ever had about the CPA article, though.
Yeah.
That and probably
Well,
White Cliffs.
Since
It's the
White Cliffs,
thing.
maybe, yeah.
It's quite the rage sweeping the nation.
Thanks
I'll
again,
say
everybody.
those ones on Chauncey Street are always packed. Just for every time I drive by.
So long.
All right.
Good
Thanks.
night.
Everybody.
Everybody.